So here we are again, and we're now going to run some textures on all these things because I finished those out. I'm using RenderMan, so we'll keep the IPR or the interactive preview renderer open as we do this. RenderMan has a few little issues with Blender 2.79. It runs stable with 2.78 and 2.78C, but it does have a lot of crashiness when it comes to Blender 2.79 for some reason. Something changed in the background. I'm pretty sure that's going to continue into 2.8. So far, it's still going to be my rendering solution for stuff like this, but you know, it may change in the future that I'll go back to cycles and just use CPU only when I have a polygon heavy and texture heavy type of scene going on. Maybe even Radeon ProRender, who knows. But right now, using RenderMan. So we're going to start out with this stuff here in texture. These are the intrinsic muscles of the hand. And right now, here's that simple looking mesh that we had shown before. And I'm not going to subdivide it just yet. I may subdivide it here in just a little bit. But altogether we have about 6,410 faces making up all this, which had started out well over, you know, hundreds of thousands. The first thing that you'll notice is that this thing comes in with a bunch of textures for some reason, or some sort of node network that wraps in on itself. It's kind of weird how this does it. I'm not really sure what goes on here, or where this comes from, but it feeds back on itself in a couple places, and so not sure which renderer this is actually coming from, but suffice it to say, we're going to get rid of all of those every time we come across them. The first thing is I'll just start at the top and I'll make my way down. And so, like with anything, you're going to have to add in a material output. And what we're doing in is the abductor digity minimi. And so we'll get some textures in here, and everything else is going to be PRMan, Pixar RenderMan. These are the ones that are going to be used. All the ones up here are going to be cycles. So some RenderMan nodes do take cycles nodes, but not all of them. So it's good to just stay up in here with this area. So what I'm going to use is, since I used a what do you call it, a metalness, a roughness type of workflow, then I'm just going to use the Pixar Disney. And Pixar Disney is going to look like just plain old blue. So if I were to start the preview render here, that's all we're going to get. But we're going to add some more textures, and the problem is that with this on top, I can't get to what I need to do right away. So now just be careful when you add textures in RenderMan that you're not using the P texture, you're using the texture. And so we need a texture for the color map, and then I'm just going to duplicate that. Actually, I don't need to really duplicate that because we're not going to use that at all. Yeah, I do, I think. The other thing that I need to do is come down to Pixar bump patterns, and I need the normal map. And that'll basically take a file name right in here for the normal, instead of having cycles where you had to find another texture map, plug it into your normal map, and then plug it into here. And so the first thing is that I'm just going to check out the normal map really quick. We're going to find this in here. Which is going to be that one. And then what I do is I'll just start this, and RenderMan has to write out a file. And we'll go here really quick and see if I can actually see that the normal map is being applied. With that blue color, it's kind of hard to see, but it is being applied there. You can see this. The other thing that you had to watch out for RenderMan is sometimes it calculates normals in such a way that you have to actually tell it to kind of reduce this, adjust the back side of it, the ones that are facing away from the camera. But that's now applied. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to linearize this part of it. And we're going to take this, we're going to go into textures again, and we're going to take the base color. And we're going to take the base color and we're going to pop it in here, just like that. And the linearize and this would turn out really bright in color if it was still left in linear color space. Any of your color maps, you want to check that box and it corrects it so that it comes out looking fairly correct. My specular is too much there. I think I'm going to go with 0.4 on the roughness. I think I did that with everything else. The specular amount here is just like in lieu of a index of refraction, so that doesn't really control too much of that. Everything else can stay pretty much the same. I used to put a clear coat on it, but not anymore. And so the Disney shader is doing pretty good where I want it. Like I said, I wanted an approximation of this stuff, and I didn't really want to have you know, something hyper real. So we're going to stop that for a second from doing that, doing any rendering. We'll pop it down here really quick. And this is a simple node network to get what we want. So I'm going to go with the Polycus brevis, do the same thing. And I could have just like copied and pasted that stuff over, like here. Sometimes there's a little problem with it having more users if I use a Radeon Pro Render, but whatever. Alright, Dr. Polycus brevis. Like that. Get rid of these. Transverse. And so this is going to continue on. And then we can see where we are right now. And this is coming together pretty good. So everything's being textured out the way it should. I'm going to pause that again. And so we'll continue on with this. I'll just pause it a little bit and then I'll show you what the final is. And then I'll show you a little bit about just mirroring this thing over. Well, I guess I can't pause right now. Let's just keep on going. So it's nice to keep everything together, and I should have done what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to keep this relative path just for now, but in the future I think I'm going to have to go back and reassign all these with an absolute path because RenderMan hasn't been liking relative pathways. So if I were to bring this into something else, it wouldn't know where to find the files. I don't know why. Oops. Flexor pollicus superficialis. Hope I'm putting it right. Flexor retinaculum isn't all that important with the color. I could have just assigned a color just to it, but we might as well keep our consistency from the mapping. Come on. I really hate how Substance Painter is exporting stuff with dual names. It really kind of pisses me off is that it duplicates the name of the export of the surface. But you know, what can you do? And the thing is that there's a way to make all these take a direct path instead of a relative path to their locations, but it doesn't work all that often. So now RenderMan has to export all those out, and then this is what we get. And of course, some of this has to deal with the lighting that I'm using, of course. That's fairly decent. And so what I do here is then I'll just see how well it deals with actually, let's see here, how it deals with the association of bones with it. I should have just done this here. Where are we at? Hands and wrists. And we'll bring out the left hand. Get rid of that one. And let's see how this works. I might not have a bone material assigned to this at all in RenderMan because I've been kind of messing around with different things and trying to get it to actually work. I guess I do. Alright. So it looks like it fits together pretty well. And that's then how we do the surfacing for this. And then we let RenderMan render this out a little bit for a preview just to make sure everything's there. Now, if I were to append this part to something else, we can do that really quick. Let me see here. Actually, let me just stop this, get out of RenderMan completely, get rid of the that part. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to leave that one blue. If I don't mess with the other sliders, it won't change it blue. But what I'm going to do is get out of here really quick. I'm going to stick with this. And I'm going to add a mirror modifier to it. So the mirror modifier will slap that onto the other side. And then I will go grab that, and then link modifiers, and now I have two hands. Just that quick. If we look at this, bring this out really quick, restart this. Apparently RenderMan's not going to see that. It's supposed to. And there goes the crash. So, the crash for no apparent reason. Let's see if it'll figure it out this time. Well, it figured it out this time. Okay. That works. So, the thing about this is that, let's just open one of these things, the upper extremity, the forearm muscles. And we'll do the forearm muscles RenderMan part. And then if I add in here, if I go File, Append, and then I do the hand intrinsic, and I look at all these objects here, and I want to get rid of that, and that. They should have materials assigned to them, and I bet you they don't. Give it a time to send this over. There is external files that RenderMan looks at to actually start rendering these things out a little bit, which may not be there, and so it has to rewrite the files. Oh, don't dare start working this now with the relative path. This might be a full resolution image. No, it's not. So it hasn't written this image before. So usually that doesn't work to append things that have a relative path. For some reason it is working, and I think it's just because it's in the same texture path as this. When you start adding more and more stuff that are in different texture areas, it won't actually pick this up. So if we were to append this stuff probably over into an abdomen that was the original file, it's going to look in that abdomen area for the textures, and it's not going to be there. So to maintain the relative path, I would have to basically copy all those textures over into the abdomen, but not too bad. And that's basically the process to get both sides. And so now that I have the arms and the hands and stuff like that done, then it's either onto the lower extremities or the back muscles. Back muscles are going to be the pain in the butt. But yeah, that's it.